Trust the profits for another week. It is the formula here with Riders Up Tim. And we were wondering, what are we going to play this weekend? And it became obvious to us pretty quickly it was going to be the fairgrounds Saturday, 12 races. Tim, how's it going in your world?
Man, it's going great. We're getting close to Christmas here. We're like a
Yeah,
week out. I'm getting close to my little break. I like that. A couple of
nice.
days left. We got some good racing, some young horse racing going on at the fairgrounds on Saturday, leading us
Yeah,
into the holiday week. I like it.
yeah, I like it a lot. This is going to be a lot of fun. Um, a lot of times I do these shows solo, but I love having a partner in crime to do this, bouncing ideas off of each other. And I think when you and I get together, or the three of us, with Sean included, come up with some great picks sometimes. So I'm really hoping that that ends up happening here today. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let's have a
All right,
big day and get some winners.
let's get some winners. Okay, so the way we do this, as always, I'm going to shift modes here. There we go. I think that looks a little bit better. Um, as always, we got ourselves a safe play, and we got ourselves a value pick, and we'll also give you our pace setter. I'll give you my pace setter at least, who I think is going to be setting that pace early on because it's important to know for your horse players. Let's go ahead and get started. Got my formula picks up here. Tim, you're going to sprinkle in some knowledge
Sure.
for each race. So for race one, we got ourselves 9 horses here in a 6 furlong allowance race. I've got the pace setters being starry eyed. Probably could have also picked out Alvarado Cat as well. Got a little bit of pace pressure coming in from that horse as well, but it definitely looks to me like Starry Eyed, the 8 horse. My safe play here, though, is the 7, Yaki's Drive Through at 4-1, favoring him over the 2, um, coming off of one race, right? So a lot of times you get into some of these allowance races with younger horses. They're coming in, it's their second race. They broke their maiden on the first try, but then once they get to an allowance race, they show that they're a little bit lacking. So I jumped up to the 7, who looked strong the last couple races. That's my safe play here. 4-1, you're getting what I would call value as a safe play. And then my value play here, I am going up to the 1 horse. He was my 4th pick, but I jumped him up 4 spots because it's 20-1. Angelic Knight ran against some of the best class here, 50% in the money. Um, and I like his finish times too. This is one thing I've been looking a lot more at, is trying to gauge how to compare finish times across different races. Last race, not so good, which is why you're getting 20-1. But I'm really hoping for a bounce back here with David Cohn in the saddle. So Riders Up, Tim, what are your thoughts on race one as I sip from my barrel aged Dapper Rye from Goose Island?
Yeah, I actually we are like spot on this one. I handicapped it 273. I've got it the exact same way. So here's what I saw just really quickly. I mean, I think this 3 is going to be the favorite. If you look a couple of races back, it says bumped at the start, but this horse was actually bumped outside, bumped inside, bumped outside again, and then pinched back.
Oh,
So this is a horse that obviously wants to be on the lead. So you look, and that's the only race that the horse wasn't up on the lead. So then I'm like, okay, that was a
yeah,
bad race. What happened last race? So I looked at the last race, no excuses. I mean,
yeah,
had
yeah.
absolutely no excuses, was well positioned and just made no advance in the stretch at all. And now we are going in this particular race, we're going to go third time off the layoff, which I like a little bit.
Yeah.
The last race, that track was rated as closing favorites, closing favoritism that day for the track, so it played to the closers, and both of those horses that beat this one did close. This horse did close over the ones that were in front, but I watched the race on this too, and this is another one to where you look at the daily racing form and it says all out. So I watched the race back on that. I totally disagree with that commentary.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
the horse was neck and neck with the horse that finished second in there, and they were battling a little bit, but towards the end, Louisiana Wildfire kind of like easily eased in front a little bit there. And I was
Okay.
watching the jockey, and the hands didn't move a whole lot. The jockey wasn't like whipping the horse. I think Mitchell Morrell thought he had the horse, and that was the first race. So I like this horse second time out.
Okay.
And I
This
think
is the
I
three
think we
horse you're
might
talking about,
we
Alvarado
might get a
Cat.
little price. What's that?
The horse you like here is Alvarado Cat.
Louisiana Wildlife.
Oh, you like the top horse, Louisiana
Yes.
Wild, the two.
Yeah, I
Got it.
switched over to the two after talking about the three. I just said there's no excuses. So I looked at the two, and that's the one that I said I totally disagree with what the daily racing form is saying.
Interesting.
So
So I skipped over the two, and you went right for the top one there. I mean, getting about the same price of that of the horse that I picked as my safe play. Um, cool.
yeah, and I did put the three in third actually because I like the seven enough to put the seven over the three, but I'm going to
Same.
put the two on top because I really think this horse has the potential to move forward.
Okay. And no comments on the value play.
No, I like that one as well, and that's why I
Okay.
say we're like spot on. I really like the
Nice.
value play there. I think that just like you said, this is one I would toss that last race, and if this horse runs back
Yeah.
to the speed figures of the previous, then he's right there.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So we're in somewhat of an agreement here. I think you like a different top horse than I do. My numbers show two very close to each other. I picked one over the other. You picked the other one. And as a long play, we like the one. Let us move on to race two. Again, we're in the allowance territory here, going 8 furlongs this time on dirt. I got the pace setter here as Mo Smokin'. And if you look at my early pace tendencies, not a lot of green. Green usually means those are the horses that are getting to the front. Blue usually means they're in a stalking position, 1.5 lengths off more likely. So I got two here that from early pace tendencies, the 5 and the 2 show as being, a couple lengths off the pace here. But I did have Mo Smoking after I looked a little bit deeper into the horse. Going gate to wire twice, jumping ahead in my comment section here. I have a feeling that's going to be the one that sets the pace. For my safe play, the 8 horse, Undercover Girl. If you look across here, you look at the trainer, you look at the jockey, you look at the scores I have on both Asmussen and Ortiz, no one's even close to either one of them. They're all about 10 points off of the scores that I have for Asmussen, 10 points off the scores I have for Jose. And Nyquist, being the sire here, this is a horse that has run the best class of the race. It's too easy for me to say that the 8 is the safe play here. It's a gimme at 5 to 2. I think that's even good value for a safe play. I don't think that's going to hold when the bettors get a hold of it, though. My value play, though, I did go down to Mo Smoking, my second horse, the horse I talked about being the pace setter. Gate to wire twice, some of the best race times of the bunch. Wouldn't shock me if this horse did go gate to wire and maybe gave the 8 horse a run for his money. Um, and he did go gate to wire on shorter distances than 8 furlongs. I think it was 8 and a third or something like that, maybe 8.5 he went gate to wire on, or maybe 9 furlongs even. So the horse is capable of taking that lead and taking it the distance. I really like Mo Smoking here as my value play, and I hope that 8 to 1 holds because that's incredible value.
Yeah, and if you look at your top three horses on your chart there, I've got the same three, but I've got them in the opposite order. I've got 2, 5, 8.
Okay.
The way that I came up with the numbers, but let me talk about that really quickly.
Yeah.
I do like the two on top. I think that
Okay.
something happened last time out. This horse came off a layoff, was off since September, but had been working since then. And that was a huge move forward in speed figures. And if you look at
Okay.
those speed figures last race out, that kind of is a little bit above everybody in this field. So
Okay.
I think if this horse moves forward again, second off the layoff here, that Broadway Pearl wins this race easily. And I'm going to play the two
Oh.
on top here. I do like the 8 and the connections, but here's what
Yeah.
I saw about the 8 and why I ended up fading the 8 a little bit here is because I went back and again, this is a horse that was coming off the layoff, so maybe needed the race. It's hard to go against Jose Ortiz and Steve Asmussen. I mean, they're only 33% together for the year here. So, but the thing about it that I didn't like is that horse did have the rail draw, but was well positioned and was like right off the speed. Had no
Yeah.
excuses. Everything opened up, and Jose had no horse. So the question is, did she need the race? And is she going to move forward? If she does, she could definitely win this race.
Yeah.
I see why, but I'm going to take a chance with the 2, and I do like the 5. The 5 played out a little bit better with my numbers, but I did
Yeah.
put the 8 over the 5 in my order, so
Okay.
I ended up 2, 8, 5. But I'm going to take a shot on the 2 here.
Yeah, a trifecta box there works out really well if we get anything close to those numbers, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so far, not in complete agreement, but we're in the right ballpark. That is good to hear. Moving on to race three. Race three, we're still in allowance land, 59K. This one is on turf for 8 furlongs. The pace setter here, I wrote this one down as hot pace, and you can see if you look to the far right, my early pace tendency. I got two horses here, the 11 and 7. I've got the 11 on top as the pace setter, but then I've got 6, 7, 8 hot pace setting up here. Orleans Tourist, Man on Attack, and also Devil's Got a Cause. All could be setting the pace here. All could be pushing each other. And at 8 furlongs, that could burn up pretty quickly. My safe play here is a horse that's going to be just off the pace and has some of that closing power down the stretch to be pushing those pace horses and pass them as they tire. That is Sandpipes at 9-2, getting good value here. And let me take a step back here and say, with further races coming up because of the small fields, you're not getting such value going forward, right?
Right.
Spoiler alert. But Jose Ortiz on turf, great value at 9-2. Top speed for the park. If you look at the horses that have run at this park, this is the horse that has the best numbers. Sits close to the pace. As I mentioned, it closes well as well. Sitting close to the pace and seeing a 2 for a closing number, really strong figure, right? That means that this horse has the ability to go the distance. For my value play, I went to the 9 horse. I've got him ranked third here overall. Carl with a Gnarl, having a drop in class, mainly due to a ninth place finish in the other gun runner stakes. I like the race times that this horse has had. 3 wins, Norm Cassie, Axel Concepcion. If you get that at 10-1, I think there's some pretty strong value here. This horse looks like the best closer to me in the race. And if you're looking at 8 furlongs on turf, you often want to look at those closers too, to see, as someone who's going to ride that wave towards the end of the stretch here. So that's what I had. What do you got there, Tim?
Yeah, so in this race we differ a little bit here. The horse I went to on top is I really like My Boy Tony, the 10 horse here.
I was looking at that horse thinking someone's going to take that, and it's going to be Tim. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Keneally and Luis Saez, they haven't done much at Fairgrounds so far. They've only hooked up 3 times and haven't done anything, but they're 21% for the year. This horse
Yeah.
has been racing against some pretty good horses on the Kentucky circuit. Now goes down to Fairgrounds here. I just look at the potential here. This horse has been running marathon distances. So, but the thing about it is, so a lot of times you look and it's like going much shorter, but this horse is 1-for-1 at the distance. So definitely can go the distance, does have a win at this distance. The only win the horse has is at this distance. So I think the regular running pattern about once a month here has been running the marathon distance. So the horse is definitely fit.
Yeah.
Saez fits that running style and has been riding this horse on those marathon races. But if you look back at Kentucky Downs, went 1.5 miles, then
Yeah.
down to 1.316 miles, then to 2/16 or the 1/8. So it's just like we're moving backward in distance here a little bit, and
Be careful
actually
referencing Kentucky Downs.
and moving forward in speed figures, so that
Yeah. Yeah.
clicking up a little bit each time. So I just like the position here for My Boy Tony. I did take your 3, the horse you like on top. I like Sandpipes here. The
Yeah.
one thing about it is I think that he's going to get a really honest pace in front, and the 3 hole is going to allow him to sit just off of all the early speed. He's going
Yeah.
to get first run here. So the
Yeah.
question is that good enough in this race? It definitely could be. I like Jose and that stalking style. So the
Yeah.
thing I will mention, I went back when I was looking at that last race. That last race was pretty interesting. There were a couple of decent horses in there. The only one has come back to run. That horse finished 9th in that race that Sandpipes was in and came back to win pretty handily.
Oh,
So pretty
interesting.
interesting there that only one
Hmm.
horse and it was the next to last. And so that could be interesting there. And the horse I'll throw in one more to take a look at
Yeah.
as folks are watching the horses. If the 13 draws in, I like the 13 third. And this is a horse
Ah.
that I just think that it has the potential to be able to run a big race here. The speed figures fit. The horse has finished
Yeah.
4 times in the money at this distance. Hasn't really done that here at Fairgrounds, but
Fairgrounds.
on the turf. But I just think that this horse, if he draws in, is going to be closing late, and the shape of the race kind of fits a closing style to finish underneath at a price.
Yeah. Sire's Gerlin, so you know he's closing late, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I've got the 3 and the 9. Tim is coming with the 10 and possibly the 13 as well. Also liking the 3 a bit there. This is going to be one of those races to probably make some money, more so than some of the other races because it's turf, it's deep. They are 16 deep before they start scratching, so you're going to get a full field of 12 most likely. All right, moving on. I think we're going to start getting into, yeah, here we go. Some of the shorter fields. We're getting into the stakes races now. We're going to start with the Sugar Bowl, 6 furlongs on dirt. We got 6 horses entered in. So what I was alluding to earlier about getting some major value plays, now we're getting to the point where value plays don't necessarily mean the value plays that they meant in the previous 3 races. My pace setter here, Indian Cat, the 2 horse. I've got him as pushing the pace in previous races, but I do have a lot of horses that are just off the pace, sitting in that 1.5 lengths back per their tendencies here. My safe play here, Tough Catch at 8 to 5 odds. Big time speed figure difference between the other horses here. So that's going to draw a lot of attention. Broke his maiden and then ran in 3 stakes races after that, getting second place in 2 of those 3 stakes races. I think it was ninth place in the other one. So this
Yeah,
is a horse.
that was the grade one hopeful.
Yeah, yeah. So this is going to be a horse that draws a lot of attention for sure. My value play is the horse that I've got on top of him with Jose Ortiz and Ignacio Carreras, and that is Count the Brave at 3 to 1. Hard to say 3 to 1 is a value play, but I'm looking at the 2 of these horses and I'm thinking it's going to be those 2 at the end. I don't want to go off on a limb here and give you, the longest shot horse and not truly feel it. So here you go. I'm giving you the 4 and the 6 as my safe and value plays here. Saez and Stewart, I I think they could give Tough Catch a run for his money. I wouldn't play the 4 as a win straight out of the box, but the 2 of them together, maybe an exacta box, feel like that could make a lot of sense. Tim, what do you feel?
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. Is that I feel that the strong wager here is just to do a 4-6 exacta box. But I'm going to
Yeah.
say this:
Yeah.
I've bet the 4 the last 2 times out. And Tyler friggin' Gaffleone, we all know how he does it to me. He's gotten second in both of the last 2 races, and I've had this
Yeah.
horse to win. But that being said, I do like the 6 here. I think if the 4 goes off as the favorite, I like the 6. But the
Yeah.
4 has been racing against better and has the figures. But those 2 just tower above everybody. But I'll just throw in really quickly one more value. I like the first time starter, the 3 has some really strong works. That 6 December work at Fairgrounds, 59-4, bullet workout, best of 24 on the day. Followed that up with a 5 furlong, minute and 3, 7th of 56. Keep an eye on how the 3 looks that day and how what kind of money he's taking on the board.
It's interesting dropping a firster into a stakes race, right?
Yes.
Skipping over the maiden special all altogether. So curious to see how that works out. All right. Next up, so we got race 5 here. We got 7 horses deep in this one, similar to the last race. Um, I went with the 2 horses that I have on top here, even though there's not a whole lot of value I get out of what I call my value play, but I feel like they're the top 2 horses, so I'm calling them what they are. Pace setter here, What a Moon, the 7 horse. Um, I've got another horse in here, the 6, that I also have as a possible pace setter. But as I looked at the 2 of them and compared, I think I like the 7 a little bit better to be setting that pace. My safe play here is my second horse overall, the 1 for laugh at 9 to 5. This horse has the best win in my opinion, has the top speed figures, has run against the best class. So you got to throw this horse in there. I like Whitworth Beckman a lot as a trainer. The value play for me here is What a Moon, 3 to 1. We talked about him being the pace center. A big first win in the maiden special. Jose Ortiz getting the jockey upgrade on this horse. Be curious to see how this plays out, but I feel like those horses are definitely 1 and 2. Curious to hear what you've got.
Yeah, I've got 7-1 as far as my second and third place horses, but I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you something else on top, and I'm going to the 4. Simply joking. You mentioned the 4 a little bit here, so basically, you look at this, and we're talking about another firster. But
Sure.
listen. I get it's a stakes race, but
Yeah,
we're we're talking that the horses that have won here have won one, and they're 2-year old fillies, so it's a 2-year-old
true.
race. You
If
never
it's
know what's going to
100K, you
happen in
get
a
maiden
2-year-old
specials
race.
at 100K all the time. So yeah,
Exactly. And look at the works. The horse is firing bullets, has really strong works. Whit Beckman in Fairgrounds, he's off to an amazing start. In 3 starts, he's got 2 wins in a second.
yeah.
So his barn's hot. He's got a horse that's firing bullets against an inexperienced bunch of 2-year-old fillies. I'm gonna take a shot.
All right. I'm curious though. I looked at these two horses because between the 1 and the 4, same trainer, Whit Beckman, as you just talked about, I've got Axel Concepcion as being ranked higher than Jaime Torres. So, in terms of choosing jockeys, does you think that the 1 is the best horse of the two? Or is it just maybe a jockey prefers one horse to the other and he's just going to let it fly and see what happens?
Yeah, and I looked at it and thought about the same. And here was my
Did
thought.
you?
So and
Yeah.
here was my thought. If I look at those bullets on the 4 and I
Yeah.
look at the one race for the 1, I say the 1 wants some speed to run at and wants to come from off the pace. So if I've got a horse that's working lights out in the morning like the 4 horse is and can get out front and throw me some fast fractions, maybe that's what he's doing. But sometimes when that happens, the horse just runs away from him. And as a first time starter, the way she's working, who knows what she does when she gets in company. As I said, I do have the 7 and 1 underneath. They're the logicals,
Nice.
but I'm going to play, try something with the 4. And this is one where you probably key the 4 on top and you key the 4 underneath and you see if you can catch something.
Cool. I like it. At 6 to 1, getting good odds there. You got to get them somewhere, right? If you want to get some value
Exactly.
out of the race. So there you go. I've got 1 and 7 as my safe and value play. Tim has 4, 7, and 1 as his top three, with the 4 being his top play here. We're moving on to race 6. We're getting halfway through here. 6 horse race. So again, hard to find value. We're trying the best we can. I've got the pace setter here. Feeling fairly obvious to me that this is Callie's Grit being the pace setter, the second horse in my formula ranking here. My safe play here is Stir Crazy, 3 horse, 9 to 5 odds, best class, speed figures for the distance work out to being the best. You're talking about 8.5 furlongs on turf in a 6 horse race. But in that distance, the best closer, Maker, Ortiz, feels like a good combo to me. So I've got Stir Crazy on top. And then for my value play, Callie's Grit, I'm going to the pace setter here. I feel like this pace could maintain. Some of the better times this horse has is, this horse has some of the best times, overall finish times of the bunch, getting a jockey upgrade with BJ Hernandez. And I feel like with this horse, you haven't seen a whole lot of fade when the horse is setting the pace. So rolling the dice here, 7 to 2, 3 and 2 are my safe and value plays here. Tim, what you got?
Yeah, I've got the same top 3 as you, but it's interesting. You've got the 1 top on your chart and
Yeah,
didn't talk a lot about the 1. I like the
go
1.
for it.
I like the 1 a lot. So you've got Brittany Russell and Flandreau is getting
You
up on
got
this horse and
Flojero.
and he has ridden her a couple of times. Her last 2 races, he's been up. So they're 1 for 3. This year hooking up. They don't hook up a lot. This horse
Yeah,
has been running some decent works in the morning and looks okay. So from the inside rail, there is going to be. It looks like if you look at this horse, he's going to want to come from. She's going to want to come from off the pace, and I think she's going to get the pace to run at. I agree with you about your pace setter in here. But
yeah.
I think the 5 can push a little bit here and maybe want to get out, especially with Saez up. Maybe he gets out and wants to push a little bit more and that causes the 2 to go backwards a little bit. But I see the 2 and 3 here. They're the logicals, but I like this 1 coming off a layoff here. I think the pattern of works look pretty good. Got a
Yeah.
nice bullet 2 back with a maintenance work sense. That's a pattern I like to see. So we'll take a shot with the 1, 2, and 3, and probably end up boxing them in some way. But
Yeah.
it's pretty darn chalky in a very short field.
It's disappointing when you see
Yeah.
8.5 furlong turf race with 6 horses,
Yeah.
right? Because with turf, you're often talking about the pace, you're talking about like the pack, you're talking about the closers. Once that wave comes through on the stretch, and with 6 horses, I'm curious to see how that changes that dynamic because you don't see this very often within turf races, right? You see it more often, I would say, in dirt races where you get the smaller fields. You might get a 6 or 7 horse field, but in turf, they're usually packing them in. I was shocked to see that there's only 6 horses in this field. So that's why I was giving a lot more play to Callie's Grit here. And yeah, I think the reason I was off lukewarm, I mean, you look at lukewarm, and you can look at some of the metrics I have here. So 2.25 median lengths to win. That means the horse is up in front more often than not, or really close to the front, or has beaten horses more often than not. 86% in the money. That's a lot of races to be in the money, right? And then you got the closing power. I'm just what I did is I looked at the field to see, do I really think that this is going to happen for this horse with this size of a field without there being a whole lot of pace pressure, with there being some horse like Callie's Grit. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
So Jim liked the 1 better than me. I like the 3 and the 2, even though my 1 rated high. I'm looking at different dynamics based on field size here. Okay, here we are. Gun runner. I feel like you got the balloon and you got the pin, and you're just deflating the balloon because it's not like this is the biggest Derby prep race, but it's one that I have been looking forward to past couple of years. It's a relatively new race,
Right.
but it's this is the race that gave us Track Phantom last year, right? And not Forte the year before. I can't remember who it was the year before, but maybe not Essential Quality. Whoops, I think we just missed the slide there. I hate the fact that I'm drawing a blank on this. The comment section's going to love it though. But this is a race that is in December interesting. And the fact that we're drawing 5 horses, granted, you got an Asmussen, a McPeak, and a Cox horse, and Brittany Russell and Wayne Candelato as well. I wish there was more. Give me 2 more horses, right? But that being said, I'll talk us through it. The pace setter here for me is Magnitude. Could get some pace pressure from Admiral Dennis. These are still some pretty young horses, so the pace dynamics here are still sort of figuring them out. But those look like the 2 horses that are going to be hottest on the pace. I picked as my safe play Magnitude. I think that this is similar to the last field. This is one where the pace setter can maintain. Asmussen has had a hell of a lot of luck, or a hell of a lot of success, I should say, at this race before. Upgrading the jockey to Ortiz could push him over the top here. So I've got Magnitude as my top play. And then I'm going to go down 2 steps because I can't call Admiral Dennis a value play, but I can call Render Judgment a value play, a horse that we've both talked a lot about. I bet this is a horse that's on your list. McPeak and BJ, great combo. It's been in some big races. If you look at the class drop, it's got a little bit of a class drop here because this horse has been in some bigger races than the other horses here. Good closing numbers. That could end up making the difference. Even though I talked my way out of closing numbers, the closing number here is actually pretty big. So I'm playing around with it a little bit. Someone has to be in second. Maybe he's in first. We'll see what happens. Tim, what do you got?
Yeah, before I do that, so Track Phantom last year, but the year before that, it was won by Jace's Road, and the second place horse was Ray's Kane. And the year
Yeah.
before that, it was won by Epicenter.
Epicenter. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah,
Right.
Epicenter.
Okay,
There
so
we go.
yeah,
Thank you.
you know I'm going to render judgment.
I know you are.
I was on render judgment in the Kentucky Jockey Cup, and I
I know.
really expected more from that horse in that race. Now,
Me too.
the thing about it is watching that race back, this horse was kind of behind horses, but at the top of the stretch, the horse that finished right neck and neck with this horse, this horse was fifth. In fourth was Dapper Moon. At the top of the stretch, Dapper Moon and everybody in front was like one length from the front. This horse was 6 lengths back and
Yeah.
then ended up right there with everybody in front. Nobody closed like Render Judgment closed going into the stretch. So basically had to dip outside a little bit, but was closing pretty well in that
Yeah.
race. So I'm going to give him another shot here. I like this horse a lot. It's one that I've been watching, and I'm going to give him another shot. But I think that the 5 horse Admiral Dennis makes a lot of sense. Brad Cox and Luis Saez. I mean, come on,
Yeah,
they're only 34% together. That's unconscious.
it's a
So
great combo.
it's gonna be tough. But
Yeah,
I just think that the 2 is a horse I'm going to play. Magnitude makes sense here. The
yeah.
5 makes sense, but I'll probably play some combination with the 2 and maybe throwing in the 1 a little bit coming off. This is a horse I remember running at Keeneland there, and this
Ooh,
horse beat who else? Render Judgment.
how about that? How about that? All right, so I'm digging the 3 and the 2. Tim, you've got the 2 as well.
251.
251 for Tim, for the record. He is skipping on my 3. All right, opening up the fields a little bit more here, trying to find a sliver of value as we go into a 9 horse race, the Richard Schurer Memorial. So my pace setter here, if you look at my pace tendencies, again, you're not seeing much green. You see a couple horses in blue. Those are the ones that are going to be 1 to 2 lengths off the pace early on. And I got him in the back. I put up a different horse, though, as I looked into horses that have actually um, sustained pace early on. So Bear River, early on in his career, had been establishing paces, and I'm going to carry that over to this race and say, if there's a lack in pace that I can identify, I'm going to throw it over to Bear River to say if there's going to be horses stalking, they're going to fall in line behind him. Maybe he's going to resort to his old way. So the number 2 Bear River, that's why I've got him in there as opposed to other horses.
That's who
My
I've got as well.
That's who you got as well. Okay, my metrics shifted him out because recently he's been a little bit further back, but that could be a number of reasons. My safe play here, I'm going with one timer for all you hockey fans out there at 3 to 1. Best win, top class, often finishes close to the winner. As you can see from my median lengths to win, -2.5. Should be pushing the pace too, even though he's a little bit further off as we usually like to see, but he should be closer than some of the rest. My value play here, I went to a Brad Cox horse that is getting 6 to 1. That is the 4, Panther Island. Upgrading the jockey to Saez here, as we both talked about before. Brad Cox, Luis Saez, a killer combo. Good race times. I do like the times that this horse is pushed out, but a mix of turf and taffeta. So I'm curious to see what happens here. This is a 5.5 furlong. It is on turf. It's not exactly where Brad Cox is known for being dominant, but I'm gonna throw a bonus way and say it's 6 to 1. I like the pairing here. Saez knows turf, so there you go, 7-4. What do you got, Tim?
Yeah, I think the 7 is tough here. I don't think anybody beats a 7 in this race. I just think the 7's head and shoulders above everybody. But I'm going to add 1 in here as a little bit of value, and I'm going to go 8 to 1 and trump your 6 to 1 here. I'm going to the 3, to Bob, the horse you've got at the bottom of your chart.
Wow,
The
look
horse
at
you've
that.
got at the bottom of your chart. But look,
Numbers do funny things sometimes.
yeah,
Let's see.
and here's the thing. I mean, if you look at these races, the last two back, let's just go to that one, 2 back. The grade 2 in
Yeah,
the Arctic, and this horse was just beaten by Patches O'Houlihan at Woodbine, and that's one of the best horses up there. And then goes to Churchill and is running against Run Carson and Coppola and Bling and a lot of good horses there. Sashua Summer was in that race, and so I just think has been keeping much better company. These are not that. They're not
yeah,
that by any means. So
no,
I can and that second in the grade 2, I just think that that's a really good race there. And yes, it's been a little bit of time, but this horse has thrown a bullet since that last race on the 14th of December. And it's one that I'm definitely going to play underneath the 7 in some way. BJ riding down there, he rides pretty well down there.
yeah, yeah,
The trainer obviously not as much, and these two don't hook up at all. But I just think BJ might have found him. He's getting on this horse for a reason. He's not just riding for a trainer he doesn't ride for no reason at all. I think he might think that he sees something in this horse. I'm going to give it a shot underneath the 7 most likely, but I'm going to try to see if we can get that 8 to 1 and try to get something underneath.
well done. All right, so I'm going with 7-4. Tim likes 7, and he adds in the 3. All right, moving on. We're going on to race 9, the Tenacious Stakes. Pace setter here. This is going to be extremely interesting when it comes to pace setters here because Track Phantom never saw pace he didn't like. Saudi Crown, very similar, right? Saudi Crown, I think recently had a couple races where the pace didn't set up properly for him, got stuck in the back, and that's why his early pace tendency took a dive for me. But I've got those two as being in a potential duel here. So my safe play here, of course, is Saudi Crown. I mean, by far the best in class. 4 wins, all gate to wire within the last 10. 4 wins within the last 10, I mean. And speed figures are huge for this horse, right? Sets him apart from every other horse here. Brad Cox, Flo Giro, right? Um, you can see my class drop value here. I mean, he's hitting outliers here in terms of class drop value. So this is definitely a horse that seems to be way above the rest of the pack here. In terms of my value play, I mean, you got 8 horses here, and I'm looking at Kinetic, and I'm thinking, how do you beat Kinetic? I just got to be honest, 9-2. That's going to be my value play here because if a speed duel does ensue between Saudi Crown and Track Phantom, the best closer here, in my opinion, is Kinetic. It's not even close. At 8.5 furlongs, not 8/5, he has plenty of room to steal a win if they do start to slow down. I don't think Saudi Crown is going to let up. Track Phantom will fade. Uh, so I got 7-2 here. What you got, Tim?
Yeah, look, if Saudi Crown can break the Breeders' Cup curse and come back off of the Breeders' Cup and win, there's no reason that he should lose this race. He's just that much better, and the figures just say that he's that much better. But he hasn't run in a while, but he looks to be in shape, and the works look pretty good. He's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I've got Kinetic third. I'm going to try to split them and probably play both of these underneath
Okay,
of
who you going
Saudi
for here?
Crown, but I'm going to add in Warrior Johnny the 3.
Okay.
So this is another one I think that is going to be closing. Doesn't have the closing ability of Kinetic, but maybe
Right.
is it should be a little bit closer. I think Kinetic might be
Absolutely.
a little further back.
Yep,
But
he will be.
this is a horse that again I just think that if you look at the races, yes, that last one it's at Parks, but that 98 speed figure is pretty darn good if you look at anybody other than Saudi Crown in here. So I mean
Yeah.
that's a really good race. The horse looks to be in form. 21st of November before that Parks race, that bullet at Churchill, that's really strong. That's fast for Churchill. Has done a couple of those over the last month. Has a maintenance work since the last race. Phil Bauer coming in, getting Jaime
Yeah.
Torres up. By the way, they're 2 for 3 so far at Fairgrounds. So
Ooh,
the two of
all
them.
right.
Jaime's got 2 wins for Bauer so far out of 3 races. So when those two hook up, even for the year, they're 26%. So I
That's a
think there
solid
might be a
percentage.
little bit something there. And if we can get 6-1, definitely try to get Warrior Johnny underneath somewhere in your exotics there with Saudi Crown. And maybe if Saudi Crown fades a little bit, maybe this is one that can pick up the pieces. Bauer's pretty hot right now.
Yeah, for sure. So I've got 7-2. Tim has 7-3, reaching for Warrior Johnny. I had the Brad Cox combo. Moving on to the Buddy Diliberto Memorial. Pace setter here I've got out of 7 horses. Again, it's another small field, another 100K, 8.5, 8.5 furlong. I got that right? On turf. I'd rather be blessed as my pace setter here, the 1 horse. My safe play here, I have at 3-1 Swiftsure. We got an upgrade in jockey here to Luis Saez. We're calling certain jockey names quite a bit here because I mean these guys are going to get something for sure.
Yeah.
This is a horse that pushes the pace, doesn't fall back very often, right? This is a horse that stays with that pace at 8.5 furlongs. I think he's good for it. He's got 4 gate to wire wins, so even a possible pace setter here for the 3. I like this horse a lot here. And then my value play, I am going down another level here. I am skipping Gigante and going for the 6, another mystery at 4-1, slightly value, but of course, 9-5 isn't value, so I got to skip the 2. At 8.5 furlongs on turf, this is your best closer, in my opinion, right? I'm looking at this as being a deep closer. He's coming back from 3 tiers back, so I'm thinking maybe like a 4 length back, 5 length back horse. But if he's closing hard, and we got a bunch of pace pushers, um, then this is one that could end up stealing some money here at 4-1. not huge value, but in a 7 horse field, you got to go pretty deep to get anything else of value. What do you got else here, Tim? I have a
Yeah,
feeling who you have here who might be different from what I picked. But go ahead.
I actually have got the exact same thing,
Oh, do you? Cool.
and another mystery underneath as well. Just, I mean, the horse has won 4 in a row, so coming off a little bit of a layoff here. I'm not as familiar with this trainer here, Chris Block, but
Yeah.
does get BJ up, and the reason I say I'm not familiar with the trainer, I look at the works and there's nothing jumping off the page there, so I don't know how he normally gets his horses back into shape and whether they're
Yeah.
typically ready to run right off the bat, but I don't see anything smoking here. But this horse is going to close from way back. I do like underneath. Look, this is not sexy at all. This is one of those to where you box your 2-3 exacta and you go wait at the window until the race is over, and then you go
Your
ahead
3-6
and
exacta.
but I mean, what's that?
Your 3-6 exacta. Or your 2.
No, the 2-3. I've got the 6. I've got the 6 third. But you
Oh, you
box
got the 6 third. Okay.
You box the 2-3. I mean, you got Asmussen and Maker. You got Ortiz, Jose, and Saez. I mean, what's not to like? They're 9-5 and 3-1, and probably be both somewhere around 2-1 most likely. And it's just like it's not going to be pretty. But those two look pretty solid here.
Okay. Again, another turf race that goes the distance, and you only have 7 horses before we're scratching anyone. So we were hoping for more on the 21st of December for sure.
Right. There's going to be some races here that are chalky, and there are just a few. I think you find your places here.
Yeah. All right. Untappable at race 10. Race 11. 8 horses, pre-scratch, of course. My pace setter here is the 1 horse stable currency. Got a lot of horses here that are sitting in that 1.5 lengths off just behind. So I'm curious to see how this plays out for those horses. Who's actually going to be there? Who's going to be fading further back? Whether stable currency is the one who's setting the pace. I believe he is. I've got him as a pace advantage, which usually means that's going to be the horse that's out in front. My safe play here, going to the top at 5-2, Golden Gamble. One of the horses that sits close to the pace, but he also has a little bit of a close in him. He can close hard down the stretch at 8.3 furlongs on dirt. We come into play here. Best last race per my formula scores here. Golden Gamble at 5-2. BJ Hernandez, Ken McPeak, solid. My value play here is the 3 horse, my number 2 horse, Whit Beckman, Axel Concepcion, per lap at 6-1. It's a little bit of a stretch here. So I had to dig into this to make sure that I really felt good about this. Only ran a 6 furlong race before this, maiden special weight, right? Or maiden race, maybe not even special. But liking the workouts that this horse has, liking the pedigree too. Practical Joke, and the dam came from Point of Entry. So it leads me to believe that this is a horse that can handle 8 1/3 furlongs. So I'm going with the 4 and the 3 combo here. Tim?
So I've got something a little bit different. Here's what I see about the 3. And the 3 definitely figures in this race. So is stretching out here from 6 furlongs, and this horse I think is going to be providing a little bit of pace, or at least a little bit of pace pressure. So you got Whit Beckman here, and he's putting Axel Concepcion up. Now let's move outside. Let's look at the 8 horse. Here's Whit Beckman, and he's putting his top rider, Jaime Torres, up.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.
And this one wants pace to run at and wants to close. So I think the 3 is the rabbit, and this is the horse that he wants to win. So I'm putting, and I've got the 8 on top. I like the 8 a lot in here at 8-1. I'm telling you, I really like this. I really like this 8. So keep that one in mind for Saturday for everybody watching, and take a look at them, see what they look like, see what kind of money's going to the 3. But I just have a feeling looking at those 2 that Jaime Torres rode the 3 in her last race, but moves outside onto the 8. And this one is one that's coming in. It's new in the barn, coming off a synthetic. So, there are lots of questions, but it's interesting that out of his 2 horses, he puts his top rider there. Right. So
Okay.
I just, there's something there that kind of intrigues me. So I'm going to take a shot. Then underneath that one, under the 8, I like the 4 here as well. the Golden Gamble, BJ for Kenny McPeak. Those two. I mean, what have they done wrong all year long? But that mile and a 16th race, this horse was like basically in hand. Watch BJ's hands, and they don't move at all. And at a mile and a 16th, this horse draws off by 9. So uh, I I just
Yeah.
think that this horse is definitely going to be there and going to figure in the end. And then if I threw in one more, I think the 5 is another one that's probably going to be closing up. Cox and Giroux. I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is. So I'll give you 8, 4, and 5 for me.
Got 8, 4, and 5 from Tim, and you got 4, 3, and 5 from me. All right, let's wrap it up here with race 12. Now we've got ourselves a bit of a deeper field. So I've got the pace setter here is Morlock. The one horse. I do have a question mark around Morlock, though. You see that a lot of these horses are just off the pace. This is a horse that I picked, but I'm not feeling strongly about this being the pace setter here. It could be a number of these horses, and we also have two firsters in here, so you never know how those play out. But hey, we're getting into a bit longer shot territory here. My safe play here is the number 5 horse Yinzer at 6-1, taking a drop in class, plus got the closing numbers that I like to see. 8.5 furlongs on dirt. Asmussen, Jareth Loveberry, I like the combo here. So Yinzer is my safe play. I'm going value play. I'm going to go with DeVoe, Ortiz, Quality Roads. Second time out for this horse. Got third place at Keeneland. Was still like 6 lengths back in that race, but it is the second time out. I like the combo here, so I'm going to say at 8-1 Cromwell in the 12 hole. I'll give that my value play. Tim, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to try to cash a lottery ticket in this race. So
Oh, beautiful. Let's hear it.
so the 2 redacted. This is a horse that
Oh yeah,
I can give this horse excuses in both of the last 2 races. So I look at the debut, and this horse went off as a 2-1 favorite against a good field at Churchill Down, maiden special weight, $92,000 race, and
yeah.
it was on the slop at 7 furlongs, and you know. Tyler Gaffleon, there's my arch nemesis, but
Your buddy.
this horse was closing up and did put a head in front in the stretch, and then got beat late. And I don't think the horse liked the slop. So then
Yeah,
what happens next? Well, they take this horse and they think enough of him to put him in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Grade 2. We've already talked about this race, with some of the other horses and render judgment, but the I that's a great race, a great field, and just had excuses. I mean, those horses are just better than this horse.
yeah,
But when I look at the works for this horse, the fact that he took a lot of money in his debut, even with the Kentucky Jockey Club, those speed figures move forward. And if you look at this horse and compare it to the horse that's probably going to be your favorite, what's the difference in speed figures? That would be nothing. Okay, there's no difference. So this horse has had excuses. I think likes the distance. Second time out, I look for
yep.
a big improvement off the last race. I like the 2 to win, and
Get
and
the two
then
to win.
I'm going to take your 12. I'm going to take your 12 seconds. So I'm going to go 8-1 over 8-1. And
Love
Jose
it.
and Cherie, yeah, I'll take that every time. And a lot of the things you said, but I just look for improvement out of this one. Second off, and so second race and first off the layoff here a little bit. But that anytime Cherie's putting horses in, you got to watch them lately. And these two together, they only hit at 25%. So and they're 55% at fairgrounds. So
Not
345 345 ROI. So that's for $2. Nothing to complain about there. But and then the 5 10s or Yinzer, this is one that only has a maiden special weight and what the one race, but that was a pretty good race at Churchill as well, and could definitely move forward. Asmussen has just been winning everywhere. He's putting horses out. So the Jareth Loveberry rides well down there. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll try that one underneath, but I'm just totally going against the favorites. Last race, maybe we catch something here, and I'm going to give you 8-1 over 8-1. So 212
yeah.
and 5.
It's a great way to close out because I mean you're going to get some value here, no matter what you play, right? As long as you got
Absolutely.
the winner, as long as you got the winner. But
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like there's great value all over here. So Tim's got the 2 and the 12, and I've got the 5 and the 12 in race 12. So let us let us back that up and Yeah, a little bit too big. There we go. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. We went a little bit long here, but I think we did some good stuff, right? I enjoyed it,
Absolutely.
Tim. Thank you for joining me on this.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody sticks around for the last race, or at least goes through to look at them, because I think that last race has some of the best value of all of them all day. It's a big field at 12, and I think it's going to
Yeah.
be very even. And I think we've got the potential with our horses. I like both of yours, and just another one there. Even if you box them and get them in any order, I think they got a price. So hopefully people will
Yeah.
stick around and watch. But some good racing at the fairgrounds on Saturday.
Let's see it. All right. Good luck to everyone.